Hello, YouTube friends. Today I'm telling you the tale of Jolly the Postman's adventures on the coast of North Carolina when he came to visit us at our farm. Jolly's flight from Indiana was rather stressful, and for a day or two he wanted to rest at MK's home in North Carolina before he started any new adventures. "May I please just nap in my room and have some tea?" he asked. Plus, MK has two dogs, and Jolly was apprehensive about meeting them. The second morning, however, he discovered that Tricky, one of the dogs, had sneaked into his room and was sleeping on the rug by his bed. She'd been there all night. She was snoring. She looked so sweet, and when she opened her big brown eyes and looked adoringly up at him, he felt he was not so very afraid of Tricky after all. She was really a sweet puppy at heart. MK made pancakes for breakfast, invited Jolly to paint with her, and showed him the weaving she was working on her loom. They visited the chickens each morning and picked pears and lavender. The weather was extremely hot, so Jolly was happy to stay indoors most of the time. But then the dating began. MK knew her friend Lynn from musical circles in her county. Lynn is the pianist at the Methodist church nearby. She moved to this area to take care of her aging mother years ago. After the mother died 6 months ago, Lynn decided to stay until she figured out what to do with herself next. She worked as an accountant for 30 years, and she is retired. An accident as a child left her with an injury to her leg, so she sometimes uses a cane, although she doesn't always need it. Lynn is 61 years old and lives in her mother's house and has adopted her mother's 4 cats. She volunteers at the local thrift store and has a lovely flower garden full of irises, lilies, and roses. MK wondered if Jolly would enjoy attending the community hymn sing with the churches in the county where he could meet Lynn, so they went. MK was pleased to discover that Jolly has a fine baritone voice, although he's shy about singing very loud. He liked Lynn's kind disposition and generous nature. They agreed to have lunch the next day at a favorite local eatery, Silos. The restaurant is located in 2 converted grain silos, and they specialize in delicious pizza. Lynn and Jolly talked for hours over their iced tea, discovering that they both enjoy collecting stamps, but not too many, like watching TV in the evenings with a bowl of popcorn, and both dislike silly sitcoms. Lynn admitted that she missed her mother, but found lots of friendship and fellowship at her church, which is just around the corner from her house. Jolly met Consuela, but everybody calls her Connie, at the local coffee shop. He knew right away that Connie was one of those rare people who was unfailingly sweet and kind. Her face lights up with the prettiest smile, and she is genuinely interested in what other people say. Connie is 55. She worked as a secretary at various businesses, but found herself in this little county when her husband decided to move here 20 years ago. He loved boats and wanted to live on the water. He died 10 years ago, and she has stayed. Connie has pet birds, loves to sew, and enjoys wearing flowy, fun clothing. She loves to go barefoot. She bakes breads, biscotti, and pies and sells them at the local shops and stores. She is trying to learn how to paddleboard, but is finding it quite hard. She told Jolly, with a laugh, that it is good for her core muscles and her balance. Connie and Jolly sat on the porch of the coffee shop drinking milkshakes and looking over the harbor at the large shrimp boats. Jolly noticed how content Connie seemed to be. "This is a good place to live," she told him. "Neighbors know each other, and it's easy to fit in." Jolly asked her, "Would you be willing to show me around Oriental? It seems like such an interesting place." Connie happily grabbed her sun hat and sunglasses, and they walked all through the village. She pointed out the park, the marinas, interesting homes, hurricane damage, and local landmarks. By late afternoon, they found a comfy spot on a bench near the bridge. The mullet fish were jumping out of the water. Jolly and Connie ate sandwiches they'd bought from a food truck in town and watched the sun set over the broad Neuse River. "I understand why you love living here," Jolly told Connie. "This is a peaceful place." She smiled. MK had met Anita at the farmer's market in the little village of Oriental. Anita lives on a sailboat and travels around the East Coast all the time. She moves from one marina to the next, a very adventurous life. Jolly wondered what it would be like to travel all the time. Anita sails her 27-foot boat herself. She is a wildlife photographer for a living and loves to watch birds and photograph them. She also specializes in dolphins and otters. She offered to take Jolly out for a sail one day, and he accepted. It was a choppy, windy day on the Neuse River. Jolly had never sailed before, but Anita happily put him in charge of the tiller while she operated the sails. They heeled over a few times, and Jolly was well splashed. Anita had packed a picnic, so around noon they found a nice quiet creek, pulled down the sail, and ate under the shade of the tall pine trees on the bank. Anita told Jolly she was older than she looked, 59 years old. She'd grown up around boats in the Chesapeake Bay and sailed all her life. She'd never married, but had many friends all over the world because of her travels. Once she went to Australia and sailed on boats there for several years. She told Jolly it was the most beautiful place on earth. Jolly enjoyed his sailing date and thought Anita was an interesting person, if a little lonely. She read many books and swapped them out at each port. She prefers books on ocean adventures and biographies of interesting people. After 3 dates with these lovely ladies, Jolly was ready to stay at home with MK and Adam for a while. He never really relaxed fully around their dogs, but he did discover that dogs are quite content and happy when they are inside their own houses and are not inclined to attack welcomed guests. The other dog, Bo, was really more like a cat than a dog. He licked his paws, sat on the back of the couch all day, and often hacked as if he had a hairball. He took no notice of Jolly at all. MK's little farm was a peaceful place to be, but now Jolly is ready for a truly huge adventure, a trip across the ocean. He is on his way to Angela's house. He's eager to meet new friends there, but he thinks he will write letters to Connie while he continues his worldwide journey.